Hello and welcome back to Taking Back Saturday, a Happy Buyers Club podcast where we break down the real estate market each and every Friday to help home buyers build confidence, follow a process and hopefully buy really happy. I'm your host, Chase Jones, and joining me today is the captain coach of Happy Buyers Club. He's my mate, he's Sam Hunter. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Oh man, footy season is nearly over. It's good. Thank you. That was good. That was one of your best.
Yeah, thank you. Should have pre-written that one. But anyway, mate, speaking of, the market that we're in, I think we've just come off the back of a Market Wrap podcast not too far gone. And we mentioned that we would be doing a podcast about best and final offers.
Yep, for sure. We've done a few on auctions, but never actually one on probably the other most common way of securing a property, which is that dreaded scenario of like, thank you for inspecting 123 Smith Street. The property has received an offer and will be going to best and finals by Monday at 4 p.m. Please let me know if you have interest.
For sure. Definitely one of the shittest texts you can receive.
That is like existential dread in a text message for anybody who thought they might actually be interested in that home.
Yeah, and that's like, sometimes it's very transparent, top offers by this date, but don't always assume that that's just the date. Things get brought forward, based on the interest, based on the number of offers that are received. And also, similarly, properties that are advertised as for sale can have a best and finals called potentially on a Saturday afternoon. It can be called on a Monday at lunchtime. It is a constantly moving beast. So I think it's very important to identify that as early as possible. If something that you've seen is suitable, we'd always recommend making a phone call on a Saturday afternoon or at least a text.
Yep.
Put your hand up and say, hey, listen, I liked this thing, and start to identify like what sort of negotiation am I in here? Like you're gathering intel at that point by asking, is this selling today? Like, have you received any offers? How many? When are you presenting those offers? Are any of those offers at a mark that might buy this thing? What's the plan from here? Can you keep me informed as to what's happening? By gathering that information, you're able to then make sure you don't miss out, but also position yourself as potentially one of the more informed and prepared buyers for potentially said best and finals, which, like we've seen of late, that comes around pretty quickly.
That's it. Pseudo joke about the existential dread aside, it's a lot easier getting that notification or getting that phone call or getting an email when you kind of already knew what the intent was. And if you ask those questions, and ideally, again, I know we harp on about it all the time, but the best buyers in the market talk to agents on Saturday afternoons. They don't ignore them. They say yes or no, and they give them whatever feedback they think is relevant, whether it's a price, whether it's the A to Z of why you hated the property, maybe not the A to Z of why you loved it, but enough that you are on the radar for the next thing or certainly on the radar for that thing.
Text the no's, call the yeses.
That's our rule in our business, right? Is if it's a hard no, it's great feedback in writing so that they have the opportunity to copy and paste and put in their weekly reports. If it's if we like it, it's absolutely a phone call to make sure that whatever happens from there, we are hopefully the first call and hopefully the last call ongoing. Understanding an agent's process takes a lot of the stress out of it. That way you don't feel like you're just going along for the ride. You're actually part of the process. You're part of that ride. And it starts with asking those questions. And if you know that their intention is we're going to see what the feedback is, we'll look to maybe close things down on Wednesday, but we're going to have another open home first, but we haven't booked in that time. You've got a bit of time. And then you can decide what you want to do there. Do you want to try and buy it early, which probably then brings that best and finals forward? It doesn't change that process, but you're kind of out in front a little bit. Our preference is to, in those circumstances, wait it out, give some really good feedback, stay on the radar, understand the other level of interest, because that will inform what price and what conditions that we may need to put on an offer if we're going to get that far.
And a big part of that is putting yourself on the radar. Remember, with buying property, the real estate agent is not the enemy. They're not the adversary. They are your friend. They are there to
a point.
Well, realistically, the 50 other groups in that open home with you are the competition.
Yeah.
They're the enemy.
This is true.
So working with them, putting your hand up there and being like, I want to be the most informed buyer. I want to be the most prepared for this best and finals, and I want to be your buyer. This is the property for me. What powerful language to use with an agent on a Saturday afternoon who's just had 10 straight voicemails, and then they get you calling them being like, hey, we met today and I want to buy this thing.
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know to make that possible. Brilliant. let's skip ahead to either we've got the information that we've got a best and finals coming up, because I did say this was going to be a best and finals podcast, not a preach about how to be nice to real estate agents.
It's true.
You get the text or you find out that there's best and finals coming at X date at this time. What we like to have this conversation with our buyers particularly is, do you actually like this house?
For sure. Do you want to buy? Is this the house for you? Like, are we going to go and spend $1.5-2 million on that's pretty nice.
Like, having that certainty is important, because if you're about to put in your best and final offer, you'd want to be certain that it is potentially the house for you.
For sure. It's like, I know I talk about Post-it notes more than is healthy, but the question is, should we buy this house? And it's a yes or a no, and you kind of need to hold up your Post-it note each. And if there's 2 yeses, you're going hard. If it's a yes and no, you're probably talking about it, and potentially that best and final price still exists, but it maybe isn't a heart price. It's purely based on logic.
Because what's about to happen then behind the scenes, and this is where it gets tricky, because all the transparency is gone, is that we start to, either with our clients or if you are doing this at home with your buying partner, you are then off the back of that answer, yes, we're going for this thing, you're going to be negotiating with each other at home, over once the kids are in bed, and seriously talking about the level in which you'd be okay with seeing it sell for $1,000 more, because that's the reality of it. You're negotiating with yourselves right up until that absolute walk away, we're okay with it regardless of result. Win either way, so to speak. Either you're buying it and you've bought it within your comfortable means, or someone's overpaid.
Someone's got silly.
And frame it like that.
Yeah, and that's
it. It makes you sleep easier.
It is. Like, your price is your price. It doesn't have to be the market price. The person who buys that property, if you're the one that misses out, has paid their price, right? It'll eventually translate into a market price, but at the point of the phone call being like, congratulations, you've won the best and finals, they've paid their price and you've missed out, or you've bought at your price. It is what it is. Don't overcomplicate it more than that. Know what your number is, and if you buy it, stoked. If you don't, there's always going to be another one. Getting to that number is the most important thing, and that's where you've got to have some courage internally, and you've got to be willing to almost negotiate against yourself. Ideally, by yourselves, without the agent ringing up being like, you sure that's it? What are you doing? Hey, you're not competitive. You're number 2. That so much of that language is like, hey, you're in the top 3. There's 2 really close together. There's one, which one of them? I can't tell you that, but think about that. That's the manipulation they use. And I do use that in a 50% professional, 50% malicious meaning. This is where you can twist the knife. Right, and this is kind of where a lot of the real estate training, I was going to say this is what their job is to do. I don't think their job is to be malicious, but their job is to extract the best price possible, and they are trained to do it. It's far better to go and have these conversations and work out at the point you're willing to miss out by yourselves, and then you just go, there it is. Don't ask me, we've done it. Like, we've talked about this for hours. We've had an argument, right? This is our number, and we're at peace either way.
Well, consider this your training buyers out there. This is your PD in real estate. It's not compulsory.
No, you get your 20 points though.
Well done. Hey, listen, we'll send that through by certificate at the end. At the point where you're talking price, obviously that is extremely crucial, and particularly for a lot of best and finals, the number is the most important thing. But the other numbers, including all your conditions, are also extremely important. You need to have conditions that are tight enough, or in fact non-existent, so that you can actually be in with a shot. In a market that we currently find ourselves in, it's extremely competitive. And if you've got clauses like subject to sale or long finance conditions, or potentially like a nervy looking 14-day building and pest clause, that's just immediately going to put you to the bottom of the pack, regardless of the number that's at the top. A good real estate agent will probably guide you as to maybe how to get some more confidence around tightening those conditions if you've got the right sort of figure there, or you're being very competitive. But just try everything you can ahead of time before we get to that sort of crux moment of having to put forward your best and final offer, having those conditions already tidied up, nice and tight. Phone calls to brokers, phone calls to building and pest inspectors. They're great. Honestly, like I haven't had a bad building and pest inspector. Like, we've got our preferred guys that we use with our buyers, but plenty of the guys that are being used by sellers are more than happy to take a call and be like, hey, I'll call you back, blah, blah. And when they're not on site inspecting something, talk you through a property they've seen a week ago, and talk you through what's the context behind it, what's the reality of it, is this serious, would you if I was your son, would you let me buy this thing? Absolutely. What do you think those works might cost? What would they look like? And just now you have a deeper understanding of what you're up against there. There's no surprises. You've got more confidence than ever, as opposed to a quite scary looking building and pest, as they all are for liability sakes, but they're a great phone call to make. And that way you can move forward and confidently potentially maybe offer that little bit more of a premium because you've taken everything into account. There's no question marks as to, but what about that money we might have to spend on this thing that we don't even know anything about?
For sure. And I think let's sort of run through price last, but then you get your finance and your building and pest. So if we're talking about building and pest, how many properties have we bought where we've had a building and pest that's been provided and we've made that phone call and we've understood it just a little bit better than everybody else, and we've competed against offers that have kept their 7-day building and pest clause on there because we just want to get someone else to check it in my name, right? Because they haven't picked up the telephone, or they haven't known that you can even get that report assigned to you, so the liability then transfers to you. It's less of a cost than a full report, but it still costs. Those little phone calls buy houses. Genuinely, they give you the confidence to just push the boat out just that little bit further. If it's not to do with price, it's to bring the conditions back in. The same thing with a mortgage broker. We wouldn't make an offer on anything. We wouldn't bid at auction on anything, regardless of who the client is. We've got an address. We send it to the broker and say, hey, the intent is to offer on this. We're hoping to buy it for this, but we're prepared to pay this. And to get confidence from them that they're happy that a bank's going to be stoked either way, right? That there shouldn't be any concerns, and if there are, we can mitigate them. They're not serious enough that it does anything untoward to the client, their circumstances, their finances, or the contract itself. And then we can all have a conversation together about, do we need to keep the finance clause on there? Or are we happy to remove it because we're all confident in the value that we may end up paying and the structure of that finance term and the pre-approval behind the scenes, just to make sure that it's a tick box exercise. Thankfully, touch wood, never had one go wrong. But I would think we'd have a hell of a lot more stress, and the chances of things going wrong would be higher had we not taken the time to have those conversations every single time before we make an offer.
And they're free. They're free phone calls to make.
It's a lot of work, and we've had clients we haven't bought property for months, and we've had 14 or 15 conversations with these guys, and they're like, yep, you're fine. I'm like, cool. We got a process. We stick to it. We take the risk out of it.
We call every time.
Yeah. It's just, like, I can't stress how important those things are. So if you can nail your building and pest, get confidence in that. Ideally, if you've got a report you can rely on, you don't need that. If you don't have a report, or you've got a report that you feel like you can't rely on because it's only 9 pages long and there's no photos and it's Comic Sans font, put a clause down there. Sometimes you can run the gauntlet, most times not, right? And the property itself will give you a sense as to whether you want to do that. On the finance side of things, just inform your broker of your conversations around price and have the price of, like, we'd love to buy it here, we're prepared to buy it here, and get confidence from them in the decisions that you're making, and ask them, if we do need the finance clause, how short can it be? Can it be 2 days? Can it be 3 days? Does it have to be 7 days? Anything longer than 7 days, realistically, in this market, in a best and final scenario, you will not be competitive. That is the harsh truth. It sucks for a lot of people to hear that, but it can change with a bit of organisation and a bit of communication before you find yourself in that scenario.
And listen, we've spoken to plenty of mortgage brokers, or at least people that have mortgage brokers that we've then spoken to. They are doing it to protect their client, but there's got to be a deeper understanding of what it takes to buy property right now in 2025. And the reality is that they can turn it around faster than 7 days. You know, once you have a contract of sale, you would go to the top of the pile.
100%.
They're on it.
Banks are like, so we're about to get paid for 30 years. You can't tell me you're not going to be priority.
Let's hit that desktop valuation. Boom, contract price 12 minutes later.
And that brings us to price, which, you got to spend a lot of time talking about what that thing's worth to you. And we said earlier in the show, it is about your price. But I would say, if we're going to continue the themes of making phone calls, go and find 2 or 3 other real estate agents in that local area who've sold something like what you want to buy, and ask them what they think it's worth. They will be generous with their time. The good ones will be generous with their time. We bought a property today for $888,000, and we called 3 local agents yesterday, and I was like, they're looking for X, and they were like, hard no, this is the absolute top that it's worth. And I was like, thank you, you've given me confidence. If they ask for any more money, we're just going to sit back. And we did that today, and thankfully there was a deal about 30 minutes later. But without those phone calls, I may not have the confidence to negotiate as hard as we did for our clients. It's the same thing for you guys. Like, go and talk to other real estate agents who have nothing to do with that transaction, who might have actually seen that property and missed the listing to the person you're trying to buy off. And they'll say, hey, they wanted this, their expectation of this. I thought it was worth this. You sold that one. How does it compare? That one's better. It's probably worth this. Go hard. Good luck. Right? Because the reason they'll want you to buy it is because you might want to sell that in 5 years' time, and
You're the
they've
person
done
that
you a
helped them.
solid, right? So who are you going to ring when you go to sell? That person. So any agents who listen to this, if people start ringing you for price advice, make sure you give it to them, all right?
Yeah, it is like that stuff is gold, and it's not a phone call that many people are making. Like we get the luxury of making that phone call because a lot of these guys are, people that we work alongside. We've bought properties from in the past, but they are powerful conversations because you're coming to, yes, best and finals does feel like it's a little bit out of your control, but it is still a negotiation. There is not just a handshake at an open home and then an offer potentially at the 11th hour. There's probably some conversations with the agent in the meantime, and imagine you're coming to those conversations with more information than anyone else because you've made the extra phone calls, not only in-house about your position, but also other agents in the area. So that area, you're a market expert and you're ready to pay what you need to pay to buy this property.
100%. And I think one last point on price is we talk about this when we talk about auctions is you got to know your numbers, and at an auction you kind of have a few different numbers along the way to sort of maybe dictate where you'd open the bidding, where you would aggressively bid to, and then when you start to slow things down till you get to your kind of final number. In a private negotiation best of finals, you don't have the opportunity of seeing where the rest of the market sits in real time. So you got to think about that oh shit number. And that is the oh shit, we should have paid more if we missed out. And that is the number you write down. It's the no regrets number. It's like, this is the dollar. It is genuinely our best and final. If you want another dollar more, we are not buying this house and we are at peace with that. That's the number you put down with the best conditions. And I promise you, if it's not the first one, it'll be the second one that you buy.
Nice. Yeah. Like best and finals, it sucks. Like, let's be honest. Like, and then you do feel like a lot of the power in that negotiation, the control in that negotiation is just thrown out the door. But if you are in-house doing all the right things that you should be at peace. You're either buying a fantastic and hopefully very suitable property, or you're missing out and you've had the best possible practice about doing it the next time.
100p.
Nice one, guys. Good luck with the best and finals. He's Sam, I'm Chase. Cue the song.